Sure. Carolyn, I think, like to many of you, is also my tailor in the area. I actually have to tell a brief, funny story. About 6-8 months ago, I was up in Conway, which is a great place, and I enjoyed coming up during my campaign and my quest to serve as your representative. And Carolyn had been kind enough to introduce me to so many different people here in Conway and the area. And I was wearing my campaign pants, which you tend to wear the same, 2 or 3 outfits 3-4 times a week. And I had a rip in the side of the seam of my pants. And she looked at me and she said, "When you're done with the day, you have to give me your pants." And I looked at her, and as many of you know, Carolyn, I think, takes care of probably lots of people's clothes in the area, and I said, "Yes, ma'am." But Carolyn is a good friend, and I want to thank you for being here, and thank each and every one of you for being here this evening. Before I do begin, I want to take a moment of personal privilege. Carolyn was actually honored earlier this year, and I wanted to recognize one of the things that people here in the Conway area have recognized Carolyn for. So as a member of Congress, we have the honor of reading into the congressional record certain things about people, individuals, or accomplishments. And I was honored to be able to read into the congressional record for anyone who wants to go see the archives, see a congressional recording for Miss Carolyn Brown, and it was dated April 11th, 2011. I knew we'd be up here to see you, so I wanted to read it and present it to you. And it reads, "Miss Carolyn Brown received the 2011 Granite State Award from the Knights of Columbus at their annual banquet. Miss Brown has dedicated numerous volunteer hours to various charities throughout the Mount Washington Valley area. She has exemplified the giving tradition by collecting and distributing food items for the local food pantry. She is also on call around the clock to help out disadvantaged families by providing them with a home-cooked meal. Miss Brown is a small business owner and also the local Rotary International Organization president. She not only donates several hours to the annual Conway Rotary radio auction, but also gathers numerous items for the auction. Additionally, she collects supplies for the Mother Seton House in Fryeburg, Maine, which cares for pregnant women in need. She also provides many hours of support for individuals with autism. I congratulate my friend, Miss Brown, for receiving this award and for her outstanding support of this community. I wish her the very best and many more years of service." So, first of all, thank you very much for coming here today. This is actually my first trip back to Conway since I was sworn in to the 112th Congress. And I've spent many trips up in the Conway area, have come to know many of you, and hope that I can serve you in the House of Representatives with honor and distinction, and I hope that I can best reflect the views and values that you each hold very dear. Today, we're up in Conway for a 2-day trip. I had an opportunity to go to the police station, meet with Chief Wagner, talk about some particular issues that are going on here in the region. Many of you may know he is he's actually looking to try to get a COPS grant to add an additional officer here in Conway, something that I support, and we'll try to do everything I can to make that happen. Had an opportunity to visit downtown businesses, went to Zed's, bought some things for my office down in Washington. Also went to take a tour of Memorial Hospital and spent time with some of the great staff over there, learning a little bit about the successes, the challenges that they have in the region. And I think you've got a top-rate organization caring for the community, always looking to try to find ways to achieve savings and deliver the best in quality patient-based and patient-centered care. So it was great to do that this afternoon. I've got some more business visits tomorrow throughout the region, and then I'm going to head back to Manchester tomorrow afternoon, where hopefully I'll be home in time to see my kids, my daughter's, my son's baseball, his little league game. So one thing I did want to talk about, and I don't know if anybody knows, but my wife Morgan and I, we do live in Manchester. We're raising our kids in Manchester. Our kids, Colby and Jack, are 7 and 6, and we made a decision early on that we would not move to Washington, that we would reside in New Hampshire, that I would travel back and forth every week for votes and for committee hearings. I typically am in Washington for 4 to 5 days a week, fly back every weekend. And then once every 4 to 5 weeks, we have district work periods where we can come back and listen to our constituents, engage with our constituents, and try to do everything we can to reflect the things that you're telling us as we come back to our districts. So this district work week, I've spent some time on the seacoast, spent some time up in Conway, in this region of our state, and I look forward to listening to what you have to say tonight, your assessment of how Congress is doing and what direction you'd like us to go in over the next few months. I think there are 3 probably very important things that Congress has done so far that everybody should know. First of all, my first week in Congress, we did something that doesn't happen that often. We actually cut Congress's budget. And I thought that was important because we need to lead by example. The challenging times that we're in with a $1.6 trillion deficit and $14 trillion debt requires some skillful decision-making about how to bring our budget back into balance, do it in a fair and equitable way, and that's tough. And it engages a lot of people with a lot of emotion and a lot of different issues. But I thought it was important that we were able to send a clear, strong message to the country that Congress is serious about its own institution and trying to improve it, so you can have, hopefully we can earn the respect of the people that we represent. Secondly, during the continuing resolution debate, which we were in because the last Congress funded the federal government through March 4th, so we had this back and forth about should we fund the government for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, or the remainder of the fiscal year, and what if you recall, we ended up with a $39 billion bipartisan reduction in savings, in expenditures. Many in Washington called that historic. It was the first time that a cut of that size, a reduction in spending that size, has occurred since World War II. Many have also said that it wasn't enough, and I agree. But it's a start. It's a start to something that I hope is a continued bipartisan approach in Washington to work in a collaborative fashion in areas where we can agree to have and deliver results for the country. And finally, earlier this month, the House passed a budget. That budget has certainly created a lot of conversation about the direction of the nation, about where we should be increasing spending, reducing spending. And I'm glad that we're having this debate as a country, because again, with a $1.6 trillion deficit and a $14 trillion debt, we have a responsibility and an obligation to every single citizen to run this country in a more effective and efficient manner. And that has brought out a lot of debate about entitlements, which I think, as many of you know, is 40% of the budget. It's brought out a debate about Medicaid and Medicare. And there's 3 things I want to say about Medicare, and I'm sure we'll talk about it this evening. First, we have 10,000 baby boomers per day coming on to Medicare. Secondly, there was a recent presidential GAO report that says there's 40 billion, at least 40 billion with a B, waste, fraud, or abuse in the Medicare system. To me, that's unacceptable. Those are dollars that should be spent effectively and efficiently. And finally, doctors, according to the American Medical Association, are in an increasingly fashion denying the notion of seeing Medicare patients. That's a problem in this country, where I think we all feel that we want to have the best quality, patient-centered healthcare system. So we're going to continue this debate, I think, in Washington. We're going to continue the debate as a nation. And I hope, and I'm optimistic, that we can find a way in which to move the country forward, balance our budget, be forthright and honest and fact-based with the country, and preserve and protect the entitlements that so many people have come to pay into and have designed their life around. And finally, I wasn't aware of it until I became a member of Congress, but I wanted to show everybody what my voting card looks like. And I'm going to pass it around, but this is your voice in Washington. I take it seriously. I want everyone in this state to take it seriously. Until I became a member of Congress, I didn't know what it looked like. But you have an opportunity to determine how I vote, because I'm your representative. And while we may not agree 100% of the time, I'm going to continue to come back every week, meet with people, listen to what you want me to try to do, and I will try to best reflect those views and those values. So I'll hand this, I'll pass this around. When we get to the end of the crowd, if you can just let me know where it is, because if I lose it, I got to pay for it. And when I go back to DC, I suspect, hopefully most of you would like me to have it. Maybe some of you wouldn't, but I'll hand it around, and then we can get into questions. And I'd like to take as many questions from as many people as we possibly can. And I look forward to having a great conversation tonight.